Hey guys, it's Lex Roche,
and Courtney Noir.
and you are listening to another episode of The Pleasure's All Yours.
We are a podcast all about the sexual liberation of the Black and queer communities.
We really wanted to create a space for us to talk, laugh, kiki, and really emphasize how the pleasure is.
It's all yours. Hey, Lex Roche.
What's up, Courtney Noir?
Welcome to The Pleasure's All Yours.
Bam, 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 bam.
We do have a fabulous guest that I would immediately like to acknowledge in the studio. Would you like to introduce yourself, guest?
Hey, everybody. I'm Karrol. I'm a political strategist in North Texas. I work on campaigns for progressive candidates and elected officials. I was the chief of staff for Jasmine Crockett when she was in the Texas House, and I sometimes write her speeches still. So,
Yeah.
and I'm so happy to be here.
We're happy to have you. If you notice, this is a man on the fucking mic.
Let's just be fair. He's not a white man.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely
That's
not.
true.
That's
Yeah.
right.
let's at least get that out of the way.
Yeah, that's true. But if there's any man that I think both were very adamant and excited to have on the
Yes.
podcast, it's definitely you, Karrol.
Thank you.
Carol, I want to
Thank
let you know
so
that
much.
when Courtney texted me and was like, so idea, like we should have Carol on the pod, I was like, oh, obviously, yes. Like,
yay.
that wasn't, it like wasn't even any hesitation or anything. But like all these other niggas that's like, oh my God, and we're friends with these other men. And they're like, oh, I would love to come on the pod, blah, blah, blah. But you're just not one of the girls, and Carol is one of the girls.
Well, thank you.
It's
Thank you,
different.
honey. I do love what we do together when we're not on camera and not on the mic.
Okay.
Yes,
Absolutely.
And talk about it.
Okay.
We always
Absolutely.
have a good
Yes, we
time.
do.
Yeah, these are
Wherever
my
we
besties
go.
in the studio. I feel like I'm just being sandwiched by so much love.
And it's so funny because I feel like we all have the same energy, but like different versions of the energy, especially when we go out, which is why it makes it a time. So every time I see those TikToks that is like bestie trio, and I'm like, this is us. Like, this is us when we go out, when we're
Yeah.
together.
Yeah, the nice one, the mean one, and the mediator.
Yes.
Definitely.
Who's who?
Seriously, though.
Figure it out.
I think it's clear.
By the end of this episode, I think you will know
Yes.
whose trope is whose trope, okay?
No,
Figure it
they're
out.
not gonna know because I'm gonna be on my best behavior
Oh, I love
on
that.
the podcast, so they won't. Y'all not gonna see the real me today.
We do need you to be on your best behavior because we have
That's
Karrol
right.
here today to talk about something super important.
We're all going to be on our best behavior, actually.
Yes, today is an episode about information. It's about excitation, getting people excited,
Okay.
and
that
preparation because these things are happening in our country that we need to be aware about, and we have a choice to make in about a month, less than that. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Less than 30 days, we have a decision to make about who's going to run this nation for the next 4 years, which are 4 extremely important years. You know, it's been 4 extremely important years for I don't know how many years.
Yeah.
But it just feels like this is like a now or never situation. that
Especially
we're in.
because after this one, he said that he's not running again.
We can only hope.
Also,
He'll be dead, I'm sure.
I was just, Courtney, I want to let you know that is exactly what I was thinking. I was like, you probably got about 2.5 left anyway.
Right. So
All of that hatred in that body.
and all of the burgers. And I mean, like that waistline.
the tanning.
That is telling me right now, you're looking at heart attack. You're looking at colon cancer. You're
Stroke.
looking at stroke. I don't know, man. What's going to take you out? But some will.
Something will.
But yeah, Karrol, we have you here today to kind of lead us through what we should be educating ourselves on prior to voting. I also really wanted to talk about like the active non-voters and just like the idea that
It's just one vote.
yeah, like your vote doesn't count because I really believe that it does. And you are super adamant about voting locally, nationally, all of that. So yeah, we just really want you to come in here and like tell us why all this shit is so fucking important.
Yes, I'm glad you phrased it like that because whether you're interested in politics or not, whether you do politics or not, it's doing you. Things are happening. Whether you're aware of them or not, they are affecting you. And a lot of times it's people who may not be aware because like they work and they don't have time. Like, you know, a lot of good reasons of why they're not aware. but they're the ones most affected. Like,
Yeah.
when we had the abortion ban happen in Texas, there was still a lot of women and people going to the abortion clinics seeking abortion. They had no idea it had been banned.
Yeah.
And they were told, like, hey, you have to, we can't help you. You need to hurry up and drive to Shreveport because that's the closest place from Dallas where they could get an abortion.
Y'all from Shreveport?
Which best behavior.
What? I mean, I was just in Baton Rouge, but I did not make it to Shreveport on that trip.
And how far is Shreveport? I think it's like 4 to 6 hours. I really couldn't place it. I have family there,
Dallas,
but
I'm not sure. I think it's a little bit further.
It's probably about 6 because you can because
just
it's so
take
close.
20.
Yeah, and it's so close to Beaumont, and I'm judging by like how much time it takes to get from here to Beaumont and then from Beaumont to there.
Yeah.
So probably about 6 hours.
Because when I drove from Austin to Baton Rouge and I drove through Beaumont, it took about like 7 hours to do that. So that's just kind of the journey a lot of people were having to take when abortion got banned. And a lot of people think, like, who do y'all think is the stereotypical person? Like, in your mind, who is the person walking into the abortion clinic trying to get an abortion?
Yeah, like younger people.
like teen.
Not even like maybe 18, 19, early 20-year-olds who are kind of like just getting into it, or it's either that or it's like not middle-aged women, but like women in like their early 30s
Who already have children.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that actually is 60% of people who are getting abortions, they are seeking abortions, they already have kids.
Yeah.
And they know that they don't want to have another kid.
They can't have another
and
kid.
they can't afford it sometimes, or it doesn't even matter because it's their decision, whatever reasoning they have. And then there's also the case of a lot of people. And so that I want to also keep talking about this ban because a lot of times we focus just on president, and the president can only do so much and sometimes so little. But the president isn't always the person that's responsible for a lot of things. Like, Biden was not the one that took abortion away from people in Texas. That happened from the state of Texas and the state legislature.
That nigga who can't walk.
Okay, the governor, he signed the bill, but it was the people in the state House and Senate that they voted, they passed it, they came up with the bill, the idea, and they ran with it. And those people, the Senate people, every 4 years, they're going to be on your ballot. And the House people, every 2 years, every time you go vote, they're going to be on your ballot. So I would say, one, go to your county's election website, or you can go to this website. If you just Google Who Represents Me Texas, you can put your address in, and it'll give you a list of your congressman or woman. It'll tell you who your state board of education person is, your state representative, your state senator. But just find out who's going to be on your ballot. Those are 2 ways you can find out. The ballot is really long, y'all. In Texas, we vote for judge, we vote for sheriff, like all kinds of things. And it's not really fair to expect people to do their research in every single race. Because if you think about it too, like, what are we looking for in a judge? How do we know what is going to make a good judge when we don't practice the law? And there's about 50 different people run like different judicial positions in Dallas alone. So it does get really hard to do research in every single race.
Right.
In those instances, I would look for like a group that you think is credible and trustworthy and that you can look at their recommendations. Like one here in Dallas that I personally think is very credible is called the Stonewall Democrats. Now, they are Democrats, so they're going to tell you to vote for Democratic candidates. But they do their research on everybody that's on the ballot. And if there is a Democrat that they're like, this person is not going to be good for the LGBT community or for whatever reason they have concerns, they're not going to endorse that person. So they put out slate cards to tell you like who you should vote for. There are a lot of different ways you can do your own research, but I'm just trying to say why it can be hard because there's so many people running. And there was before 2018, you could go and you could click like, I'm going to vote for all the Democrats or I'm going to vote for all the Republicans. Well, they got rid of that because more Democrats were using it. And so the Republicans were like, we're going to get rid of this because it's not helping us. And it was really helping Democrats at the bottom of the ticket. So because we have all these races we got to vote for, the ballot is really long. But it's super duper important that you vote all the way down, go all the way down the ballot, and vote all the way to the end. Because a lot of times the people at the very top of the ticket, president, Congress, you're not going to interact with them.
Yeah.
The people at the bottom of the ticket, your justice of the peace, your constable, those are people that you might actually need or run into in your community. You might need to go to the justice of the peace if you want a marriage license. Sometimes when you get like tickets from the state trooper, that's where you go to deal with the ticket. Eviction cases, they go to the justice of the peace. So I think those are things that are going to impact people more quicker than what's at the top of the ticket. So that's why it's really important to vote all the way down.
So going back to the abortion ban conversation, understanding that we need to vote down the ticket and that those local officials we're going to have more interaction with, those are who affect our day to day. I'm here to kind of be like devil's advocate to the people that just are like, I don't want to vote for either party because Democrats suck, Kamala sucks, Trump sucks worse, but Kamala also sucks, so I'm not going to vote.
Yeah.
With that being said, I've seen lots of political commercials, and I did see one, with families talking about their experiences needing abortions and why they're supporting Kamala Harris. But then you say Kamala is not the one that can fix the abortion ban, or Biden isn't the one that created the abortion ban. When somebody is saying, okay, well, Kamala can't fix the abortion ban, so why would I vote for her? What does that have to do with me voting for Kamala?
Yeah, so it's like a lot of times there are just so many layers to it that it can get really deep, and that's kind of how they want it to be, so that people, it just seems like too much to try to figure out, and you just feel like, you know what, I don't trust any of y'all.
You like put your hands up too.
Yeah, you're like, this is too much.
Yeah.
But so there is the state ban was what they did in the legislature, what Greg Abbott signed. The reason the state ban that they did it was because they knew that they had the people Trump put on the Supreme Court, that with those people there, now they could overturn Roe v. Wade. So the state did that on purpose, so somebody would sue them, they would get it all the way to the Supreme Court, and then the Supreme Court would overturn Roe v. Wade. Now, it wasn't the Texas abortion ban that did that. It was the one in Mississippi.
Okay.
But the goals were the same. They just didn't know which case would get there first. When they got rid of Roe v. Wade, that's what allowed the states to ban abortion. So when Roe v. Wade was there was a federal, every state had to allow abortion at least till the 15-week mark. And so that's what they had in Texas, like or 15 or 20-week mark. It was 20 weeks. You had to allow abortion at least until the 20-week mark. So Texas wanted to kind of push that by doing a 6-week ban to see like how can we kind of mess with this. What the president can do on that is they set the tone to the Congress. They tell the Congress, this is what I want y'all to do. And the power the president has with that, even though the president is not a member of Congress, the power they have with that is the president can veto things that some of the people in Congress might want, so that's his or her leverage there. The president can, sign things that they agree with, she agrees with. The president can veto things she doesn't agree with. But the president will tell Congress, this is what I want y'all to do. Congress doesn't have to listen, but that's why it's important to vote all the way down the ballot, because if we can get, like, President Harris and we can get control of the House and the Senate, then we can run with a lot of these ideas. Like, we can get them done very quickly. But most likely it's seeming like Democrats might not get the Senate, so there's going to be like a roadblock right there. But the president can still do things to help people even without Congress necessarily, because they also appoint everybody in the cabinet. So Secretary of Education, your Attorney General, Homeland Security, HUD, who's going to be over HUD, those kind of things. And in the Congress makes the budget, and they give those agencies some money that's called discretionary money. So the agency can kind of decide, like, we're going to fund certain programs. We're going to put certain money here. And so if the president is giving them direction, like, I want you to put this money in certain communities, I want you to focus on certain projects, then that's what those agencies will do. And they don't need always approval from Congress.
Okay, so that being said, if you are familiar with any of them, what are some of the things that President Biden has done in office, like using those discretionary funds?
Yeah. So I will say, like, with the student loans, that's what the president's goal was, that he was just going to do it himself through the Department of Education. What happened is the Supreme Court, they held that up. And why were they able to do that? Of course, because Trump was able to put all those people on there. But the thing is, even though Biden was not able to forgive everybody's student loans like he was trying to do, there were still over 1 million people that I think people like the three of us might know people who did get their loans forgiven.
I know a few people who got their loans forgiven.
My mother and my aunt.
See, so there are still people that benefited from it. And it's all because the president was like, this is important to me. I want all of y'all to try to do this. Like, let's figure this out. If the president doesn't care about that, that would have never happened. Like, Congress was not going to do it on their own without the president saying, like, y'all need to do something.
So it's important that Kamala is, like, wanting to protect women's rights for their own bodies because it's something that she can, like, it's an agenda she can push, basically.
Yeah. And I will say, like, there's, with politics, sometimes you're on offense, sometimes you're on defense, and both are important because offense, that's when you're pushing things that you want that are going to benefit us. And like Obama, he really, really wanted universal health care. We didn't get universal health care, but hundreds of millions of people got health care through Obamacare.
It seems like even though we keep having these roadblocks with, us not having control of the Senate and, whatever the Democrats want to pass is just really not making it where it needs to go, that there is still some hope and that we can pass.
And I want to say, too, we struggle to pass the big ticket stuff. Yeah. Like things that are going to be transformational that we strive for. Yeah. Like restoring abortions, forgiving everybody.
Polarizing things, loans, immigration.
Things that, those things, they take time and they're hard to pass a lot of time because you need consensus. Yeah. But there's still a lot of things, even Democrats are getting done, even when we don't have the majority. Like in Dallas, Jasmine Crockett, she secured millions of dollars to come back here. And that's not just the idea of millions of dollars. Like people are getting money that their homes are so old and falling apart. They're getting money to repair their homes and change the the heaters, different things like that are outdated.
Yeah, make it more safe.
Make it safer for them. Yeah. It also helps reduce carbon emissions, so it helps the environment.
It sounds like we need to be voting locally, okay?
Well, I vote all the way, from the top all the way down, to the bottom.
And then in between that, those every 2 years where your county is having elections.
As soon as you start seeing all those little signs everywhere.
Get out there. You better schedule your appointment at the library, whatever you got to do. Put it in your Google Calendar.
Yes. And is it just the president election or is it every election that your work has to, like, legally has to let you go?
Yeah, it's every time there's an election.
Okay, so if anybody's like, oh my God, I can't get off work, they're actually legally supposed to let you go.
If you're in Texas, they have to give you at least 2 hours on election day for you to, to go vote.
Early voting is so great, y'all. I can't tell you how many times I just go into my little library, my local library, and I walk in and I get it done. I am out in like 4 minutes. Karrol always sends me, no matter what election season it is, presidential, local, whatever. You always send me a sample ballot, and I really trust your opinions. Yeah. So really, I just look that over. I do look over some of the people that you suggest, like the high ticket ones that I feel like I can understand. Right. And I make sure that those views also align with me. But I'm in there. I'm pressing that little button. Yeah. And I'm ready to go. And then I get my little sticker and I get to post it on Instagram. Yes. It really...
And I'll tell y'all, early voting starts... I definitely
early voted this year.
Yes. Early voting starts October 21st in Texas. You can go vote. A lot of the libraries are early voting location. I mean, just Google where you can early vote in your county. You can find it. And like in Dallas County, Harris County, some of the bigger counties in Texas, you can vote at any location in your county. So there are things where they try to make it a little bit easier for people to go and vote. Yeah. So let's take advantage of it, because if we don't go vote, if we're not turning out, they're going to get rid of those locations. Like they're going to be like, no one's using them.
And they want to. They want to use those measures to suppress our ability to go out there and vote.
I want to also talk about people feeling like their vote doesn't count or that their voice doesn't matter. And there are a lot of good reasons why people will feel like that. But I want to tell you that every time we're like, oh, it's just one vote, you're one out of another 100,000, maybe even 1 million people that
with the same thought.
Yeah. And I'll tell y'all, like, when Ted Cruz ran against Beto in 2018 and Texas had like super high turnout, Ted Cruz, he only won by 215,000 votes. Wow. Since that time, Texas has added more than 2.5 million new registered voters.
And half of them are from fucking California.
Yeah.
They're
Making the state even more blue.
Yeah.
And raising the prices of everything around
Of
them.
everything.
And there is a lot of new growth that's come in that when we all go vote, we don't know what could happen. Like Texas is in play. I mean, I'll be honest. Me personally, I don't think like we're gonna flip just yet, but we have to show.
It's those small towns.
It is, but it's also the small towns. They're losing population. The cities
that
are
too.
blowing up. But we have to go vote. We have to show people the power we have, the numbers we have, because our power comes from our unity. That is our strength. We have the numbers, but we have to prove that to people by going to the ballot box and making your voice heard. Because you do have a voice, and it does matter. And I'll tell you, every vote counts. Because maybe, like, you vote all the way down the ballot. Okay, president race not close. You know, Congress race not close. Senate race not close. But keep going a little bit down further that ballot. I bet you there's going to be somebody that really, really depended on your vote, and you got them over the finish line.
Yeah.
And I can tell you just a personal story about that is Jasmine Crockett. She's in Congress now. She's going viral. They spoofed her on SNL. She's been on. She got covered in Vogue. She was on Jimmy Kimmel. She's going on Colbert.
DNC.
Yes, she spoke at the DNC. I mean, she's all over the place now because she's very authentic. She knows what she's talking about, and she can communicate in a way people understand. And she won that election by 90 votes out of 10,000. So like less than 1%.
9-0, a double digit.
Wow.
Yes, less than 1% she won.
Less than your graduating high school class.
Yeah.
And because of that, she was able to really like elevate the people voice. She went to fight abortion bans. She got a bill passed through the House to restrict no-knock warrants and how they were done in Texas because that is how Breonna Taylor was murdered. So it does matter who we're sending there, and it does matter. And if we're sending the right people, and it's on us to like suss out the people that ain't right and vote them out.
And I'm sorry, anybody who gonna call a white bitch a blonde, bad butch body on national television,
She gets my vote.
yo, she gets my vote. Cause gather her ass up, Miss Crockett, for real.
Like she is not there to play; she's there to work. So she's not going to be disrespected at the workplace.
Yeah.
You know.
So now that we've talked about why it's important to vote, let's scare these hoes and talk about why we need to vote specifically for Kamala Harris.
And you know what? I want to, while we get into that, I do like to, and I said this in my family group chat the other day. I was like, you know, if you're not voting, you're basically voting for Trump.
Yeah.
That's true.
And
That is so true.
Like, that is how I view it.
Yeah.
And also, I feel like you're also forfeiting the right to complain about anything that happens thereafter because you had a chance to do your due diligence and you were like, it's just me. I'm not even worried about it. It doesn't affect me, but it's like, it is going to affect you because when you get that paycheck and you're trying to figure out what's up with your taxes, when you go into like grocery stores and things like that, you're going to be
expensive.
Your housing, like everything like that, you're going to be wondering what the fuck.
If there's a hurricane coming to your community and you have people that don't believe in climate change.
Yes.
And then you have people that are voting against money for FEMA. And there are people Republicans that represent those communities in Florida that got hit by these hurricanes. They voted against money for FEMA.
And I bet you they're the first ones like, yo, give me some.
Yes.
Help me out.
But
dumbass.
So Cookie, you cracked me up because you said, let's scare these hoes.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
And I will, but I also... Yeah, let's scare them first, and then we get to the other stuff.
I really want to talk about Project 2025.
Yeah,
and like what their plans are, and how Trump is just a piece of the puzzle for that, and that these are things that your local state officials are engaged in as well.
Everybody, Project 2025 is a blueprint for super far right, ultra conservative, basically Nazi. And it is a blueprint for them. So when Trump takes office, or like God forbid, but in their plan, it's a win for them. So for them, it's like the first day he gets in office, they have all the blueprints of, okay, these are the people you're going to hire for these various positions throughout the government. Those people right now are working at a think tank that is training them on how to basically dismantle different parts of the government. What parts do they want to dismantle? Department of Education that funds public schools because they don't want everybody to have
Learn
education.
things.
Access to education.
Yeah.
Because they don't want they don't want poor people and regular middle class people to have anything. So they do want to get rid of Department of Education. They said that it's too much government. We don't need it. So they want the states to do it. States do most of the public education already, but what Department of Education does,
It regulates them.
well, it makes sure that they have civil rights in the schools, that they are not discriminating for your race, ethnicity, and it also makes sure that schools are doing ADA so that people who have disabilities are getting accommodated. It makes sure that people who have learning disabilities are getting identified and getting services that they need so they can overcome that and continue with their education.
And conservatives don't want
And they don't
said,
want
bitch, I don't give a
that.
fuck about you.
They
Honestly.
really hate marginalized people.
The other thing they want to cut, they want to get rid of SNAP, food stamps. They don't want...
Which is, to me, is wild because isn't it like 60% of people on food stamps are white and poor
it
and
is.
poor?
That is
so I
true.
guess that's part of their
Most-
plan.
But then they
Most
also want you to
government-
keep having children you don't want.
Yeah, well, most government benefits do end up going, mostly it is to white people, even though that is not how conservatives want to portray it. But they want to get rid of food stamps, and it's already, you only get like $4 a day.
yeah.
And there's only so little you can buy. And so Jasmine is working right now, and she's gotten Republicans on board with this, because there are some people that they do want to get things done and find common ground.
I believe that.
But at the same time, it's like, but you're not going to stand up for the bullshit.
Right.
Like,
And if
you're
you-
still voting for the
Yeah,
bullshit.
but
Right.
and
Yeah.
like also for a party that claims to be so family oriented and
Bullshit.
all of that,
Yeah.
but you don't want any
They're
kind
nuclear family oriented.
yes, but still, like, what happens to people who are following that guideline, but they also don't? They're poor. Like,
That's true.
that's the thing.
Yeah.
It's like you are saying you support families, but then you don't want to offer families that need assistance the assistance they need
The
to
ability to buy a
continue
house.
and to continue to like feed into this like family dynamic.
Yeah.
You say that you're
And I'll just say, it's just
about.
so much like the Supreme Court. I know it's not really a sexy topic, but like,
What about this?
even worse than Roe v. Wade, there's another thing that they did. I mean, Roe v. Wade is super, super bad. There's another thing that they did that's like kind of as bad or maybe a little worse, which is the Chevron decision. They also overturned this other case called Chevron that was like long time landmark case that what Chevron says is when the government agencies, they make these rules, like the EPA, for example, they'll have rules about the climate. The FDA will have rules about the food and the drugs. And when they make those rules, that those agencies have the final authority to interpret the rules. So like the rules they came up with, they're going to be like, this is what we mean by it and this is how it should be applied. But because there are some very large corporations that want to cut corners, they don't want to follow the rules, they wanted to overturn this case.
Yeah.
And so now what the Supreme Court did by overturning it is saying, instead of those experts that work at those agencies, we're going to determine what they mean by those rules ourselves. So the court now wants to be the experts.
Okay, so pretty much they can just
Do whatever.
interpret it however
Do whatever.
they see
Yeah.
makes their agenda
Yeah.
valid.
And what's so crazy, I was just reading something the other day that was like, someone had asked a question, like, what's up with all these food recalls over the last like couple of years? And like, if they're not monitoring the food, if experts aren't monitoring the food and the things that we buy to consume, then like,
if
that
they're not
would
being
make
funded
sense.
enough either
Yeah,
to,
that too.
to have the capacity to even fucking do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, they want to get rid of all these government agencies that exist for a reason, which is to keep people safe. And they want to get rid of those things because they say those regulations are too burdensome for these super large corporations that just want to make a quick buck. They don't care if there's an outbreak in the food. They don't care if your community is getting cancer clusters. They don't care about none of that. They just want to make that dollar.
And it's also because like the people that it directly, like it doesn't really directly, it directly affects them, but they have money to sidestep
Yes,
themselves.
the
exactly.
consequences of these rules that they're making. So it doesn't really hurt anyone besides the middle and lower class. Because, I mean, rich people going to care about rich people, and that's
Yeah.
pretty much it.
Yeah, so I think, like, just for me personally, not having to find out what life is like under a second Trump presidency, that's motivation enough for me. But I understand for some people it's not. So I want to give them a little bit more motivation.
Okay, please.
Because,
Maybe I'm
I
gonna be
mean,
a motivation.
right. Because I'm like, we can scare, everybody know Trump is like the devil, that he want to round and lock everybody up. No more gay people. No more black people.
No more
more
sluts.
brown people.
No more
sluts. No more hoes. No more studs. Okay.
Oh my God.
No hoochie
Save the
daddies,
studs.
bitch.
I know.
Hashtag save the stud.
Where's gays for Trump? You don't look gay. I know. I hate that he is funny now. He is. I hate that about his ass. He is a funny motherfucker.
But he should not be president.
But he should not be president.
And he
Take
should be a
your ass
TikTok
on
star.
tour.
He's just funny because he's dumb. Like, it's funny because he's dumb and he's so
He believes
genuinely dumb. Like, that's the crazy
Where's
part.
gays for Trump?
Like, because
He don't
what are
look
you,
gay.
what are you talking about? This is the best debate I ever had.
But okay, so let me give y'all some motivation, because everybody know how Trump is, and maybe that's not motivation enough. To me, it is, but I understand it's not to everybody, right? So let me tell y'all something. If you like me, I like multiple commas. Y'all like some commas?
I like commas.
Okay. So Kamala wants to give y'all rent. We all rent, all three of us.
We do.
Kamala wants to give renters $500 a month back on your taxes. So you're not gonna get it every month. You're gonna get it when you file your taxes. What bitch you know? Don't have no kids, getting $6,000 back on their taxes.
Not a single
Not
bitch.
legally.
Not
legally.
legally.
Not legally.
They doing it illegally.
Illegally.
Yeah.
But okay, so there's a comma in that. That's one comma. Okay. The other thing, let's say you don't want to rent no more. You want to buy a house. You ready to buy a house. You're a first time home buyer. Kamala's trying to give first time home buyers $25,000 to $30,000 to help with your down payment.
Yo, maybe I'll think about it.
And there are a lot of banks and lenders that when you are a first time home buyer, they'll like kind of help you out. They'll lower the down payment. They'll give you a different rate and stuff. So this money from Kamala would go even further for you. And we know home ownership is a big piece of your financial security, making sure you building that generational wealth.
Whenever she said that, I was like, maybe I'll consider buying a house.
Yeah, and like Obama, he was able to do that too. And a lot of people were able to buy houses for the first time under Obama because of that program. Of course, Trump ass got rid of it.
Of
course.
He is in the business of housing discrimination. That's what his daddy taught him, and that's how he came up. Okay, so that $25,000 to $30,000, there go another comma. Okay, she wants to help pay for school and get rid of that debt, finish what Biden was trying to start, and she's got money coming for that. If you got kids, there's an earned income tax, the child income tax. Sorry, I'm messing up the name, but it's the tax credit if you got kids. Okay,
Yeah.
So there goes some commas for you there too. I mean, her name Kamala for a reason. Okay, she's trying to
bitch
hook you
got
up with some money.
commas.
Okay,
Commas.
there's that. There's also like if you care about the environment, she is gonna crack down on that, on the polluters and those large polluters.
Okay. Devil's advocate again.
Okay.
I did watch the debate, and I know she was like pro fracking. Like she said, she very specifically that she will not stop fracking, and fracking is known to be one of the biggest causes of climate change. So how does that equate if she's like for climate change?
Because I think while we have to address climate change, we also cannot just leave whole communities. There are a lot of communities, especially in Pennsylvania, and some in Texas too, but really in Pennsylvania, their whole like in Beaumont, how a lot of people work at the refineries.
There are refineries everywhere.
Their economic system
it is
relies
like
on that.
Their jobs rely on it.
Right.
So to get rid of that, you can't just ban it right off. I mean, you can, but that's gonna hurt a lot of people as well.
Right.
So her plan is she's gonna allow the fracking right now until we can retrain everybody and transition away from that. So people still have jobs. They can still continue working in this field where they have skills already, and they're gonna learn new skills to build on that. And then also on top of that, the market is also moving away from fracking because it's not making sense for them anymore. They're moving to clean energy. So I think this is part of the transition to that.
Yeah, it's just that transition for sure. I have little faith that transition of training people into a new field will happen in 4 years or 8 years.
Yeah, it takes time.
Yeah, and I understand that it takes time. I just like to point out that.
And as like people who are pro Palestine, her posting that whole memorial for Israel on the 7th, like kind of, I was like, girl, like, are you listening? And even at the debate when she was like, I feel like every nation has they should be able to defend themselves if need be, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, what are they defending against though? And like, look at how many innocent people are dying here and there, and you still
It's really not even a defense. Especially being our audience, being queer people, there's a lot of like liberationists that are very concerned about, one, the climate, and then two, Israel and Palestine. Like, what do we say to them to like energize them to go and vote for Kamala? Like, in your opinion, because you also can't solve this issue, you know?
And my goal is, I am, but I'm not. I'm not trying to tell you, like, you have to go vote for Kamala. I just gonna give people information so you can make the best choice. I'm voting for Kamala, and I'll tell y'all why. And I think, too, the people that are those liberationists and they're feeling disenchanted and they don't think that this thing can be reformed, I understand that feeling and why they feel that way. And it's justified. But I also think that we cannot, to me, not voting in a way feels like we're giving up.
Yeah.
And some people say, well, I'm doing things in my community. I'm doing direct action. I'm doing mutual aid. And all of that is very valuable things that everyone should continue doing. Why can't we also vote?
Because also it's like, yes, you are personally giving back to your community, but the system that can do the most and give back the most to your community, you like the only way we can really make that happen is to actually vote.
Yeah,
so
because some people feel like the government is just too fucked up that we can't reform it at all. And I get where that sentiment coming from, because I feel like that a lot of the time. I'm like, oh my God, this shit is so deep. Like, how we gonna fix this shit? But when I start feeling like that, I think like, okay, well, where does that leave us? What are we going to do? Right. What's our plan? Because we can't just continue letting people suffer. We have to do something.
Or just letting people do whatever it is they want to do by not voting.
Kind of think it all the way through. The government is a problem in the way it operates right now. To get past that problem, you either have to change the government or you have to get rid of the government altogether. Right. Now, I don't want to get rid of this shit altogether because I'm like, now what does that mean?
You niggas don't know what to do.
But that is what Project 2025 do.
That the system keeps changing.
Yes.
And so it's like, okay, well, whose system is it going to be?
Change. And I think for me, what I think about is, because I also want liberation for everybody. But what I also think about is, out of the people that are running, who is going to give the most room for my movement to make ground?
It's like, who's going to be taking the step forward?
Yeah, who can
in the direction that I want to go in,
and who's going to be willing to listen to me?
Yeah,
because like, if you like me, I know Kamala is going to be more willing to listen to what we have to say than Trump.
Right.
Yeah. So it's like, I also think like that, and because we're fighting on so many different fronts, whether it's for workers, for families, whether it's for students or to stop gun violence. We're fighting on so many different fronts that you got to think about those things and where can I make the most progress on all of these issues? Who's going to give me that room, and who's going to, we're not going to agree 100%, but let's focus on like who does agree with me the most. And that's what I would say, because I'll tell y'all, I wish we did not have just two parties. I don't feel like that is the best thing, but I'm not going to vote outside of those two parties right now because
they're not the majority.
They're not. And it's like, one, I don't think it's like making a statement or anything, because doing it at the president level super high, like that has serious impact.
Yeah.
And I think that any third party that is serious, they are going to start at the local level. They're going to, because the goal is to build power, okay? Just running for president, what are you doing? Like, how is this building power? How are you getting your message out there? Yeah. And then with Jill Stein, like, she talked everything on her website I agree with. It sounds great, and I wish that we could do those things. But I know her ass ain't going to get that shit done. And she always talking about...
Is she the Green Party?
Yeah.
I think another thing with, like, candidates that aren't in the two is that because they have so many radical ideas most of the time, like, we haven't taken any steps to put our government or our community in a space where you can see those radical ideas for what they are, which is like positive change.
Yeah.
And so it would make no sense to go from level 1 to go to level 10. Like, you can't
even get to level 2.
Yeah, and so I think that's one thing people forget as well, is that either way, politics is a long playing game.
Right.
And you either you play or you suffer.
And it's also not the situation where it's like, oh, we get something done, now we done.
Yeah.
No, you have to protect it. You have to
keep
keep doing it.
it.
Because look what happened to
Yes.
abortion. We don't have it anymore. We got to go and get it back. We got to go get that shit out the mud now.
The fight doesn't
The
end
fight
after
doesn't
we
end.
vote for
But
Kamala.
you know what happened is we got caught slipping. We were sleeping. And they took advantage of that. That's how Trump ass got in there. Because people didn't like Hillary and they stayed home. That's how Trump wins. And that's what he's counting on this time too. He knows there are a lot of people that they're not thinking about, am I voting for Trump or am I voting for Kamala? They're thinking, am I going to actually go out and vote for Kamala or am I just not voting at all?
Yeah.
And that is part of their goal.
That's why I say if you just staying home, if you're choosing not to vote, you are basically voting for
But
Trump.
and I'll tell y'all, they always put in disinformation, misinformation about Kamala. And it's not even just since she became vice president or ran for president. It's been her whole career because I've been following her when she ran for president the very first time. And that's when they put out the stuff. She had locked up all these people. And I was like, that is not true. And I kept telling
debunk
people
it for
that.
us, please.
Oh, it's been debunked now, but I will. But they were kept saying she locked up all these people. All these people went sent to jail for weed. Not true. And if you can go, I don't have like the exact records right now, but it is out there. These are public records from the California Corrections Department, from the DA's office in San Francisco when she was DA, and later Attorney General. Attorney General does not do marijuana convictions. That is your local DA. So when she was that, there were, I think, 3,000 or so cases that went through her case, and she got everybody off. Like, she did not charge them. She got most of them. She was like, either you take a class or you do this. Like, we're just going to get this off your record. You're not going to jail. There were only 45 people out of the 3,000 plus that came that ended up having to go to jail. And it was really because they had like
Severe
a huge
cases.
amount.
Yeah.
But once again, everything is so connected. That's why we got to vote at every level. Because your DA, they have discretion to not try certain things. They have a certain level of discretion. But there is a point where they have to follow the law. It's out of their hands.
Yeah.
And those are the 45 cases where it was because they had a really high amount.
Yeah.
That it was a felony level. It was maybe they had intent to distribute because you still couldn't sell it at that time. You know, there
Yeah.
are other reasons why those people had to go to jail. It's not because she wants to lock them up. But there's that kind of disinformation. That came from Bernie Sanders and his crowd. But people have been coming for her. And a lot of times I do have to, and I think everybody that listens to this show will get it. The misogynoir is
Yeah.
out of control.
Oh my
and
gosh,
and a lot of
yes.
people don't always spot it or catch it. Even people who know about that kind of stuff and don't
Yeah.
like that kind of stuff. The thing I get annoyed with, oh, she's pandering. She code switching. What black professional
That doesn't code switch.
Right.
Like,
What?
And would you even take her seriously
If
she
she
didn't?
didn't, I'm like,
Yeah.
it's never good enough. There's
Yeah.
nothing she can do. People always will critique those things.
Yeah.
And to me,
Yeah.
it's like,
Or like that she's putting on a black scent or whatever it
Or
is.
she's
Because,
not really
like,
black or- yeah.
She went to
Yeah.
Howard.
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, exactly. Like, why are we questioning this black woman's identity?
And like, also, we need to be talking about more important things than that. Like,
and how many black people that they have different ways of talking?
Oh my God, yes.
that,
There's
hello.
no one talk black.
Especially if you're from like different areas.
Areas.
Like, black people
Yeah.
talk different all over the place. I even
Yes.
feel like whenever I go back to my hometown, I feel like the way that I talk changes because
'Cause you back in Beaumont.
because I'm
Yeah.
back there, and I feel like it's just so different than
Yeah.
like when I am out in my normal regular life. So like, yeah,
Yeah.
even when I get off the phone with my aunties, I'm like, whoa, hold up.
They're like, well, I just
Get it
don't like
together.
her personality. Well, guess what, boo? She not running to be your bestie.
Right. Like, do you like
Yeah.
Trump's personality?
But and my
That's
thing
what I'm
is,
saying.
But my thing, who out of these people do you feel like you can trust to run this government
Right.
and make sure that your ass don't get killed by a hurricane? Make sure that you got some money to pay, not just for your rent and live get by, but that you can actually get ahead.
Yeah.
And that's
Because-
what Kamala is trying to do. She understands that lifting up the middle class, which means bringing more people that are poor, getting them more money, getting them more sustainable wealth, getting them into the middle class. That's how you strengthen the middle class,
and then
through
like
numbers.
that, and then that also opens up the door for people to actually start and keep their businesses open, to get all these mom and pop shops instead of all these corporations, because you're out of a place of struggle, which I think all of us really would like to experience at some point in our life. And like, I know, because like everything's so expensive and rent is high and food is high, that it's like, well, like it's like a exhaustion even sometimes, where you feel so tired by your circumstances that you kind of just want to put your hands up to them and be like, you know what, I'm gonna just ride the wave. And like, I really, really get that, but you don't have to ride the wave. Like, look bigger than what you have right now. And I think that's what is also important when we are talking about politics and who we do vote for, because like we were saying, like Kamala is a one step forward to where so many of us are trying to get. But unless we take the step forward, we're never going to get there. Like, I think one thing that like abolitionists and like just really radical, like change, people for radical change forget is that there are so many like cogs in the wheel that you can't just like and if you did just shove one of the cogs out, that is creating disaster. And are we prepared to even like deal with that disaster? So it's like the slow and steady wins the race. And people forget that.
I will say two things on that. One, I totally agree with what you're saying, because a lot of times people, they want all or nothing. They want someone they can agree with 100% of the time. You're not going to find that.
There's not a single person on this earth that you agree with all the fucking time about every single thing.
Some people get so stuck on the 5, 10, 20% where they disagree and forget about the 80, the rest, where they agree. And I'm not saying like get along, go along to get along. Let's work on the 80% together, and we'll come back to this other 20% because it's still important to us. We're not saying we're going to ignore that. But let's get the things we can get done right now. Let's get that done real quick.
And it's also a team effort. It can be 80% over here, and then the other 10% over here, and then the other 10% over here. Like, it's everything. Just like you said, vote from the top to the bottom. That is a team effort. Like, that is what that is. You are gathering together a team of people that will keep each other in check for a common one goal of making life easier for everyone.
And a lot of times people, they want 10 out of 10 things at once. And I say, sometimes you can't get all 10, but you have to negotiate, you have to compromise, because maybe you don't have the most numbers. You're not in the majority. So you have to work with people from the other side to get this done. Like, for example, let's just keep talking about abortion. If there's an opportunity to get exceptions for rape and incest, I would want that to happen immediately while we still continue fighting to restore abortion for everyone. Because that will have an immediate impact and save lives now. And so what I say to the people who want 10 out of 10 at once, sometimes we only get 4. We're going to take that 4. That doesn't mean we forgot about the other 6.
It's the same thing with life, too.
It is, because we're going to take this 4 now, and we're going to tell them, thank you, we're going to accept this now, but we're still going to fight just as hard. I'm coming back for that 6. For the other 6.
I'm coming back for that 6.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the second thing I want to say is basically what you said about the radical folks earlier.
Yeah.
I got a little piece of advice for them. I know they don't care. I know they don't care to hear it, but it's not anything anti. What I think, and it's not just for radical people. I think it's for anybody that wants to see transformational change in politics.
Like tomorrow.
Yeah. Like, if you get public support, like public opinion is on your side, you can do anything. And I think where we lack sometimes is there are more. I do believe that most people, if they went to vote or they got a chance to have the conversation and get educated on it, they're going to agree with us, because why wouldn't you want a better life? Why wouldn't you want more freedom for yourself and everybody? Why wouldn't you want to feel safer in your community? Why wouldn't you want a safer home, a better school for your kids, more job opportunities? Why wouldn't you want to live a better life? People do want that.
The bag you chasing, this is a part of the bag you chasing, baby.
And but I think the piece that's missing is we have to go out there and educate our community. We have to organize about these issues where it's informing people, getting them introduced to these ideas, getting them to understand those ideas and buy into them. Right now, we pushing ideas a lot of times. We pushing them at people and getting mad if they don't buy in immediately. It's on us to convince people, even though, this is going to help them. Why don't they understand?
educate.
them.
You have to talk to them.
Because we have to build community. You can't just
Yeah.
get mad at people for not understanding.
This isn't
stuff.
school. You're not my teacher.
Yeah,
like you're not my
I
dad
think
either.
building that community, having those conversations, doing that kind of organizing, that's how we get more of these ideas into the mainstream.
Mm-hmm.
And that's literally what Republicans do, but they just do it with hateful shit.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
And because that's super controversial, it gets more media influence.
And also, their demographic is a lot more easily
Swayed.
yeah,
yes,
it's more
it's more homogenous. Yes, like white people are white people. They're there. But then we have black people, we have Indian people, we have Asian people,
we have Arabs,
we have the Latino community. We have so many people that also have so many different religions within that.
Different
like
views.
most of these white people are going to be Protestant, like white people.
Yeah, and there are like a lot of Latinos that they're hardcore anti-choice. They're hardcore against abortion.
And because of that,
and they won't let that go.
Right. Like that's their 5%.
They will not let that go.
Right.
Yeah. And so I always say we got to build coalitions based on politics, not identity.
Yeah.
Like so I think we need to, but it is important that we reach these different communities because like you said, that is our challenge. Yeah. We have a big tent party. They have what looks like, in their own words, in the Republican, Kevin McCarthy, he not the speaker no more, thank God. But when the Republicans kicked his ass to the curb, he said, you know what? When I look at the Democrats, they look like America.
Yes.
When I look at my party, his party, the Republican Party, it looks like the most exclusive country club in America. And that's so true. Because you want to see yourself represented. And not only because this person looked like you, but because they share your experiences, their values. They know what it's like to live a certain life that you share.
They validate you.
They validate you.
Yeah.
If you can see her, you can be her.
I know that's
Come
right.
on now.
You know
Come
what?
on, bitch.
And with that, we gonna wrap this bitch up.
Yes.
OG, this was a pleasure.
The pleasure is all yours, honey.
Yes.
You always tell me things. You always educate me on this side of life. This like fighting the system through the system. And I love that.
Thank you. I think I did get a little too deep into certain like little holes.
Oh, that's okay. I'm gonna edit.
Okay, bet.
I think that also ever since I have like met and connected with you guys, I have like cared more about it because I'm like, okay, like you're talking about it and I'm like, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
I'm not friends with people that don't vote. Both my exes didn't vote, and I think honestly, like that gave me the most ick out of anything, that they just didn't give a fuck. And it wasn't that they didn't believe in the parties. It wasn't like anything revolutionary. They were literally just like, I don't think it has shit to do with me, and I don't really have a car to go to.
But they're complaining about shit as soon as it's...
Every time that paychecks come,
And
they say,
I want to make a few things clear that y'all can edit this, weave this in where it fits. Trump did not give nobody those stimulus checks. The Democrats had the House of Representatives at that time. They pushed that shit through. Yeah. Democrats wanted to direct
Trump is the one
deposit.
who made it less than what it was supposed to be.
And he held it up because Democrats were like, all right, we finally agreed, or we compromised on this amount. We wanted more, but fine, this is what we got. Let's send it to people immediately. We're going to direct deposit just like your tax returns, so people got it in the bank immediately. That was what Democrats wanted.
Yeah.
Trump said, pump the brakes. We're going to print these motherfucking checks out with my signature, so these hoes think this money came from me.
Wow. You hear that, Sexy Red?
That's your nigga?
That's your man?
Let's really wrap this bitch up. If this is your first time listening to us, go ahead and like and subscribe to our YouTube. Follow us on Instagram at allyourpleasures_. Join our Discord where we can chat about books and reality TV and our love lives. And you can send pictures of yourself and maybe find a lover in the group. Yay. And then also, Karrol, please let people know where to find you so they can follow your ass.
Yes, you can find me on Twitter at OG Karrol. I'll have a website up soon, but y'all can hit me on Twitter if y'all need speech writing, any kind of political, professional, marketing shit, anything that you're going to pay for, you can hit me up.
I know that's right.
Okay. Come on now.
I don't really have much to plug other than Asia Wilson is the motherfucking GOAT.
Yes.
Aces, they got us this time, but we coming back next season with a motherfucking vengeance.
Come on.
And the Dynasty, we starting over next year. 3-peat loading, phase 1 coming, 2025. Now you know.
Okay.
Ho.
And whether you're listening to this on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, bitch, we love you. Bye.
Bye.
That was never finna end, bitch. You love to motherfucking talk. I said, let me go ahead and shut this shit.